Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern Ned Reynolds in the studio on a Monday morning. Last night, the St. Louis Blues had it all but closed up. Going into the third period, they're up 3-1, and then it just all fell apart.
To quote Jack Buck and one of his very famous statements during a playoff game, "I can't believe what I have just seen." This is astonishing. The St. Louis Blues, folks, played a much better match than the Winnipeg Jets. Much better, skated better, more crisp. Their checks were solid, and they played a very good defensive game. 3-1, as Mike just mentioned, going into the third period. 3-1 with 2 minutes to go in the game. 3-1. 2 minutes to go. Hey, 2 minutes to go in hockey is like 5 seconds. It elapses in no time at all because of the way the game is played. But somehow the Winnipeg Jets got a goal with just under 2 minutes to go to make it 3-2. Well, the crowd's going nuts. And then Winnipeg pulled a stunt that doesn't often happen in regards to successful ventures. Pulled their goalie. Now, they had pulled Connor Hellebuyck in the past, but that was for defensive purposes. This time they pulled him to get an extra attacker on the ice, and with the score 3-2, one of the attackers, a guy named Perfetti, got right in front of the net and hammered it home with under 3 seconds to go. Come on, what is this? Storybook stuff? 3-3. The game goes into overtime, one overtime period, 20 minutes, and no score. In the second overtime period, they go about 3/4 of the way through with 6 minutes to go. The Winnipeg Jets got a couple of players in front, and St. Louis did not get them out of the way, and a shot bounced off Adam Lowry of Winnipeg and into the net for the winning goal. Winnipeg 4, St. Louis 3 in double overtime, and it's the Winnipeg Jets who move on, and the end of the season for the St. Louis Blues, who played the better game and should have won it. They haven't won. These things just don't happen. And yet, as Yogi Berra often said, it's never over till it's over.
That is absolutely right. Well, they definitely don't need to feel too bad. They had a great season, especially the last month and a half, 2 months have been great to watch the Blues play.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up, too. Why was it just now in the last part of the season? They were floundering and on the verge of not making the wild card. They finally did with a 12-game winning streak, but how does that happen? What is it about the team in the early going that doesn't make them gel and get to a lead that's relatively comfortable where they can rest some of their players? Don't understand that at all, but maybe they'll take the summer off and try to devise some kind of formula that gets them through. And Joe Boo did not pull them out this time.
Not last night, but definitely helped them towards the end of the season. And to answer your question, I think it's a lot more akin to baseball than you think. You see it in baseball all the time. Teams that were 500, below 500 come Memorial Day weekend, and then towards the end of the season get hot and get hot and get hot, and they go into the playoffs hot and do things that are pretty amazing. So it happens. It's
no
just
question about
length.
that. It is part of sports, part of pro sports. But the fact is, the Blues have done this now for several years in a row, where they have floundered at the very start and played mediocre hockey in the middle of the season and then gotten hot. Well, you're not going to win at a consistent basis doing that. We'll see. We'll see. They don't need to make any improvements on their team. They are pretty much intact for next year.
That's good to hear, Ned. What about basketball? What do we have in the playoffs?
Well, the first round of the second series is underway between the Indiana Pacers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the Cavaliers, folks, are the favorite team. They had the best record in the NBA East and favored to knock off the Indiana Pacers, and they did not do so. Indiana goes into Cleveland, wins the first game 121-112. Andrew Nebhart, a kid out of Gonzaga, had 23. Tyrese Halliburton, a star at Iowa State, had 22. And the Cavaliers do not have Darius Garland in their lineup. That's Winston Garland's son, and he has a sprained toe. He's an outstanding long-distance shooter. They missed that badly, and as a result, the Cleveland Cavaliers are now behind 1-0. In the final qualifying series, Golden State went into Houston, knocked off the Houston Rockets 103-89. Golden State now plays the Minnesota Timberwolves later on this week in their first round.
St. Louis Cardinals seem to love playing doubleheaders, don't they?
If the season were doubleheaders, they'd win them all, wouldn't they? Come away with a very improbable sweep of the New York Mets in yesterday's doubleheader. First game Well, Wilson Contreras was 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs, and the Cardinals erased a 4-2 Mets lead, tying the game, and then won it in the 6th on a Victor Scott RBI double. That's both games. The Cardinals win the first one by a score of 6-5, and the second game 5-4, all one-run encounters. But the Cardinals take 2 from the Mets and now take on the Pittsburgh Pirates coming up. Now the Kansas City Royals and the Baltimore Orioles. How about this one? This was a record-tying 10 solo home runs in one game. Baltimore is a bandbox, and a lot of home runs can happen. But the Royals and the Orioles combined for 10 solo home runs, nobody on base. Royals win the game 11-6. Kansas City had 17 hits. Vinny Pasquantino had 3. Mikhail Garcia 3. Hey, that is pretty doggone good. So, indeed, you get a win for the Baltimore Orioles, a win for the Kansas City Royals, and 2 wins for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Major Leagues, they're hopping.
Yeah, they are. The Royals have taken the last 4 series, and again, like I said last week, they start a series with the White Sox today, and that means they might take 5 in a row. That will be it's pretty good odds, especially at this time of the year. What about the Springbirds? How'd they do? They were at home this weekend.
Springfield comes away, Mike, with a 3-2 win over the Northwest Arkansas Naturals. That completes the home series now, and the Springbirds go on the road, but that's a nice little win. Northwest Arkansas is pretty good. Springfield still scuffling a little bit here in the early going. They are under 500, 12-15, but hey, it's a team that could catch fire and make some noise here before too much longer. But a win for Springfield.
Since we've had this whole conversation about baseball, we might as well continue in that regard with the Missouri State Bears. How they doing their road games this weekend?
They had a 3-game series with Illinois State up in Normal, Illinois, which is also the site for the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament coming up in 2 weeks. The Bears needed to take, at the very least, 2 out of 3, and that's what they did. They took 2 out of 3. 1 on Friday, lost on Saturday, 1 yesterday in a real heart pumper. Bears had the lead, 4-2 going into the 9th inning. Illinois State came back, scored a run, loaded the bases in the last of the 9th inning, and the Bears escaped, getting the final out on a high pop-up to the infield. So the Bears do win 4-3, and that's really cool for Missouri State because their pitching did come together. The Bears have a 1-game lead over Murray State and a 2-game lead over Southern Illinois in the standings, and hopefully that'll pay off here when conference time comes up. Bears still have more conference games remaining, including a head-to-head matchup with Murray State on the agenda. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will. It's still got plenty of games left to play. Ned, you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.